Number 10, Dabo Swinney. He's only one out of a few active head coaches to have multiple national championships under his belt, but we can also be honest with ourselves. Clemson has not been the same program since they lost to Ohio State in 2020 and since they lost Brent Venables. They went 9-4 last year. That's the first time Clemson has won less than 10 games in a season since 2010. I mean, there's no doubt that they're not the same program, but there's still something there. The ACC isn't stacked, so maybe they can start to see some of that success again, but there's no doubt that Clemson has started to slip a little bit. Number 9, Brian Kelly. I mean, at some point, you are what you are, and that's what we're seeing with Brian Kelly. He's a very good head football coach. He's been a head football coach since 1991. Obviously, he's won a ton of games at Notre Dame, back-to-back 10-win seasons at LSU. But here's the shocking thing about Brian Kelly. He has 0 BCS bowl wins, 0 New Year's Six bowl wins, and 0 college football playoff wins. There's a clear ceiling for his programs. And then if you look at the schedule, this year for LSU, they play USC, Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama, and Oklahoma. There are some losses in there. So something clearly has to change to get his team and his program over the top. He's 62 years old, so that's why it kind of feels like it is what it is. However, the 12-team playoff can allow for a program like LSU. Maybe you have 2 or 3 losses and you kind of backdoor your way into that 9, 10, 11 seed. That gives you a second chance to have some big wins, and some college football playoff wins would look good on Brian Kelly's resume. Number 8, Lane Kiffin. He has a ton of experience, but still feels like a young head coach. He's with it. He's with the times. He's active on social media. He can relate to his players. He's 94-46 overall as a head coach in college, 34-15 overall at Ole Miss through 4 seasons. 2 of those seasons, he's won 10 games or more, including an 11-win season last year, and that 11-win season is the first time in Ole Miss football program history that they won 11 games or more in a season. The last time they won 10 games or more in 2 out of 3 consecutive seasons was 1960 and 1962, so clearly Lane is doing something right. Number 7, Kyle Whittingham. He has a couple of recent Pac-12 championships. He has 6 top 25 finishes in the last 10 years. I think he has Utah set up for success, and again, if you win the Big 12, that's a conference championship win. That means you get a first-round bye in the college football playoff. The reason why Kyle's on this list is because it's a combination of recent success, what he's done as a head coach overall, winning championships recently as he's getting older, but then also forward thinking, looking ahead. I think he has Utah primed for a big year. So when you combine all of those things, I think that's why Kyle's a top 10 coach. Number 6, Mike Norvell. I'm a big fan of Mike, and I think he's done everything you wanted him to do in the 4 years he's been head coach at Florida State. The Willie Taggart thing, that hire just didn't work out. You bring in Mike, he takes over in 2020. What does he go? He goes 3-6, and then 5-7, and then 10-3 in year 3, including a bowl win, and then 13-1 last year, and they were an injured quarterback away from making the college football playoff. But that's progression every single year with a noticeable jump from year 2 to year 3. And I think that's exactly what you're looking for when you're a program like Florida State hiring your new head coach. Those noticeable jumps and that noticeable improvement year after year after year. Number 5, Dan Lanning. Part of me feels this is a little bit high for a guy that's still a young head coach and doesn't have a signature win. But I'm kind of buying into the Oregon hype just a little bit. He's 0-3 against Washington, does not have a conference championship each of the last 2 years. Dan has that, and it's kind of hard to explain, but he's an SEC guy, and he brought that tough SEC confidence to Eugene, and it's working. Obviously, it helps to have Uncle Phil and Nike in your back pocket writing you some checks for NIL, but they got their NIL figured out. They're recruiting well. They're utilizing the transfer portal well to plug some holes in their roster. And he has Oregon primed for a big year. So many people are jumping on the Oregon bandwagon this year. And I mean, they are number 3 in the AP poll. And Dan Lanning is just one big win away from the entire country saying, oh crap, here comes Oregon, and Oregon is here to stay. Number 4, Ryan Day. This might shock some people, but Ryan Day has the highest win percentage out of current FBS coaches at 87.5%. And that includes Kirby Smart, who's 85.5%. No one else is higher than that 85.5. So that sort of thing does matter. He also has maybe the 2 best coordinators in the sport. He also constructed maybe the most talented roster in the country, so he deserves a lot of credit for all of those things. But he's 0-9, and Ohio State is 0-9 in their goals the last 3 seasons. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win the national championship, they're 0-9. So I think you can't have him higher than 4. Number 3, Steve Sarkisian. Texas is back, and that's a thank you to Sark. They won 12 games last year, and I think that's the first time they've done that since the 2009 season when they made that national championship game. They also won the Big 12 Conference last year. They made the college football playoff. They went on the road and beat Alabama at Alabama. So the combination of all those things, going on the road and beating Alabama at Alabama, winning your conference, making the CFP, and then look at this upcoming season, Texas is going to be good again. Now you're looking at a combination of the success last year, the goals he was able to check off last year, and then how good Texas should be this year. That's why he's so high on this list. Number 2, Kalen DeBoer. So I sort of surprised myself when I put this list together because I wasn't sure who was going to be number 2. I mean, you lose Nick Saban, you lose Jim Harbaugh. everybody's going to move up a couple spots. But I'll put it simply for Kalen. He wins everywhere he goes. He's 104-12 as a head coach. His first head coaching job was with Sioux Falls from 2005 to 2009. He went 67-3, including 4 NAIA national championship game appearances, winning 3 of them. He becomes a head coach at Fresno State in 2020. By the next year, he won 9 games, and then the year after that, he's at Washington. And then 2 years at Washington, he went 25-3, including that national championship game appearance last year. And then you consider the fact that he took over the Alabama job, has continued to recruit at a high level, and it kind of feels like they won't miss much of a beat this upcoming season. I don't know how I can have him lower. You have the history. What have you done for me back then? What did you do for me recently with Washington in the national championship game appearance last year? And then what you're going to do for me this upcoming year? I kind of surprised myself having Kalen number 2, but I think it feels right. Number 1, Kirby Smart. So Georgia's 42-2 in the last 3 seasons, including winning 2 out of the last 3 national championships. I know there's some off the field issues with Georgia, but this is about the recruitment, the development, and the winning at the highest level of college football. And no one is doing those 3 things better collectively than Kirby Smart is.